Hello, and welcome to Ask Lovecraft After Dark. Tonight, I am joined by the creative minds, some of the creative minds behind the upcoming horror musical Eldritch USA. We have Nathan here with us and Ryan. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on this show. This is an interesting project that was brought to my attention. It's a horror musical, sort of with small town American values. Would you say that's a nice little summation?
That's pretty spot on. It's also a comedy, so we're just kind of throwing everything in but the kitchen sink.
You're saying it's not a dramatic horror Eldritch musical?
Lovecraftian horror. Zombies. Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything.
It sounds pretty fantastic. Tell me about this movie. What on earth compelled you guys to put this together?
Well, I've had the story bouncing around in my head for a couple years. I'm a twin, and actually, apparently, Nathan is also a twin.
Bizarrely enough, I am also a twin.
But we're not each other's twins, so it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But the script very much plays on sibling rivalry, and one brother is much more popular than the other brother, and that is not unlike the experience I have in my own life, where I have a brother who's very popular, very well known in our community, and I'm just kind of always in his shadow. So our lives don't play out the same way that the script does, but it's fun to play with that.
He had to take out frustrations in the script, basically.
So you're not going full Whately, is what you're telling me.
not full, about halfway. No,
you never want to go full Whately.
You never want to do that. Bad things happen. But no, he actually had the story idea originally as a web series, right? That's what you had come to me with. He recently moved to Springfield, where I have moved back from Chicago. And how did you hear about?
So they had a film event. I had previously done The Terrible Old Man when I lived on the East Coast out by Washington, D.C. And after moving here, I thought, well, I need to get hooked into the local film community. And whenever I was at a local gathering, they said, well, if you like horror, and I was like, oh yeah. And they said, then you need to talk to Nathan Shelton. And I was like,
yeah, he found me on Facebook, and we both being Lovecraft nuts, just hit it off really well. And I started having him come to, we have some local filmmaker lunches that we do. And Ryan came, I introduced him to some local filmmakers and just hit it off and started talking about this great project that he had, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I originally came on as a special effects coordinator, which is one of the things that I do, and then have grown into now being the director of the project and co-producer. So yeah.
Nathan has a lot more experience than I do with actually directing people, whereas I have a lot more experience with actually doing the camera work and some of the technical special, digital effects and things like that. So it seemed like a good compliment.
Yeah, so he's the DP, I'm the director. We're going to be working hand in hand on this bad boy, and I'm just thrilled. I cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting.
And what stage is the production in right now?
We're currently in pre-production, so the script has been more or less mostly done for a while. We're just polishing it now for trying to get as much punch from it as we can. Mm-hmm. We have the main people cast, and we start location scouting here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to cast all the minor roles probably the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start going about our fundraising for the film and things like that, getting all the pre-production together, and we start production in the fall in September. So
wow, that's pretty fast turnaround.
Very quick. Yeah, and it's a very ambitious project. I mean, this is like, we're talking ultra low budget. And, but when, this area is just filled with talented people, filmmakers, stage actors. We've got some amazing college students involved with this production, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. And it's just really going to be a wonderful way to, I think, showcase the amazingly talented individuals that we have here in the Ozarks. So I'm very excited. I think that we'll be able to pull it together pretty easily.
We were a little nervous going into the casting because whenever you say we're going to do a horror comedy musical, you don't know who's going to show up to say, hey, that's me. And
it's like the Mystery Men auditions, right?
Exactly like that. We were really terrified that is what was going to happen. And we were so pleasantly surprised. Every single person that came through that door was amazing. They were all obviously we couldn't give them all these parts. We had a very specific number of people we were looking at, but they were all very talented. And the people that we did wind up casting, they got it. And they didn't just get the humor, which was, you can't teach comedy. It's just one of those things you either have or you don't. It's all in the timing, they say. And these guys got it. They were very, very funny. They brought their own unique flavors of comedy, but they also got the style with what we were doing. This very quick-witted kind of style. They got the horror element, and a lot of them even, had a lot of familiarity with Lovecraft, which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
But Lovecraft is getting a resurgence in our culture again. Most of the time, I think people don't even realize that they're influenced by Lovecraftian things like the Necronomicon or things like Arkham, things like that. They're just like, where's that from? I don't even know. But but they got it, man. They got it, and it's just, I can't wait to work on this with these people. It's so exciting.
Now, are you setting this film, and this is spoiler territories, feel free to tell me. Are you setting this sort of specifically within the kind of Lovecraftian mythos with references to like Necronomicon and Abdel el-Hazred and all that? Or is it just sort of Lovecraft adjacent?
So it's Lovecraftian. We reference a lot of different things. I don't know how much we want to get into, but like the Necronomicon does play a part, and there's some
the typical Lovecraftian ideals of elder gods trying to, things like that, manipulating mankind, just to keep it vague. Like that definitely plays into it. But it also has more of a, I think, it doesn't play as heavily the majority of the film in the cosmic horror realm as it does more of a personal horror realm, with the fact that there's resurrection. So we've been putting that out there, so we can say there's dead people returning back to life, and that's a huge part of the plot. And which, yes, the way that this is happening is more Lovecraftian. It's not like a virus or anything like that. They're bringing back flesh-eating zombies. It's got its own unique way that these things happen.
And we try to put Lovecraftian references in everywhere we can. So without it being ridiculous, we have a lot of Lovecraft references.
Yeah, any Lovecraft fan that watches this is going to be sitting there just having a ball. I think people, the norms will also have a ball with it too, but us Lovecraft nuts, right up your alley if that's what you're.
Now, as someone who's, spent a long time in the sort of Lovecraft world, one of the things Lovecraft loves to do with his various monsters and horrors is describe them as unspeakable and unnameable and undefinable. So, given that that's not particularly helpful for filmmakers, how do you kind of square that? We actually eventually got to show something either on screen or hint at something on screen. I mean, that's, always been seemed to be the challenge, right? Whether it's Stuart Gordon or whether it's Evil Dead, right? Once you see what's behind the camera or slightly off frame, there's certain challenges, and Lovecraft doesn't help that by saying it's so horrible I can't begin to describe it.
Right. I think that is a major issue with why there aren't more successful Lovecraftian adaptations, either actual Lovecraft adjacent or Lovecraftian adaptations of the work, is because of that same thing. People feel like in horror movies you have to be shown everything. I always like the idea of, like Hitchcock used the idea of the MacGuffin, not giving everything away to the audience, keeping the secret as long as you possibly can, showing bits and pieces of things, but not showing the whole thing. And I think that's where the most successful movies have made their mark. I think one of my favorite Lovecraftian movies is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. I think that is probably one of the greatest Lovecraftian, not true, adaptations on film. Definitely on the mainstream film. And I think they do such a good job with the Lovecraftian elements. They almost go too far with showing the monsters in that chase sequence, and it's when you see them, you're kind of like, they talk about them being all scary and they're like rubber suits, So yeah, it is a challenge. And that is one of the things that we're trying to really figure out, and how much of the things you will see of the big bads that are really, pulling strings and stuff, how much you will see, how much you won't see. Being a comedy, we can push that envelope a little bit more, I think, than you can in a very serious piece. Don't you think?
Yeah, we're trying to make it scary and otherworldly, but at the same time, you don't have to show the whole thing to give away the point of what you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do the Stuart Gordon route and just make everything kind of moist and sticky.
Right, just spritz it down with slime and call it good. Yeah, we could do that. I can't say too much in a way, but being an effects guy, I am a monster fan. I got into filmmaking because when I was a kid, I watched Thriller, right? And Thriller, made me go, I want to be an actor and a special effects makeup artist. And I was one of those lucky people that knew what they wanted to do since they were 4 years old. And I've never deviated from that path. I've always been on that dark and disturbing path. So of course I'm all about creating monsters and showing things. And so the makeup in the movie is going to be pretty ballin', I think. But it comes down to, you know, building giant Lovecraftian entities and tentacle beasties and things like that. You're also talking budgetary concerns for a small indie film that it's just like, in order to make them look good, I think you can get away with, you know, good cinematic tricks and make them look really fantastic. You know, a movie that I actually is very successful with this, I think, is The Void. The Void being a great newer Lovecraft. Have you seen The Void?
I haven't seen The Void.
Okay, it's really good. It's a monster.
It makes very good use of triangles.
That's what the whole movie's about. It's basically like a giant demented Sesame Street episode. You're just
well, now I want to see it.
Yeah, it's so good in many ways. And one of the best things that I think they do is that they do a lot of practical effects. I'm a practical effects guru. I love practical effects in movies. And they do it, but they light it in such a way and get quick shots of it. And the way that they shoot them, it never comes across as looking really fake, I think. And it is definitely body horror. There's a lot of gross stuff that happens, but so it's not as classy as our movie, wow. I should say. But
there's one thing we are, it's classy.
It is it's good.
So at some point in this, you know, design and production process, one or both of you had to turn to the other and said, you know what this movie needs to be? A musical. How did that happen? How did that happen, and how is that continuing to happen going along?
So I have a lot of musical background. You know, obviously. So I grew up, I was in the church choir, I was in show choir, I was in jazz band. I tried to be in a big rock and roll band. That didn't go anywhere. And I have always been heavily involved in music, writing, playing. And some of my favorite things to watch movie-wise are musicals. I love, maybe, I don't know if I can say this on a horror show. I love The Muppets.
Terrifying.
So
Dr. Teeth is a Lovecraftian horror.
Right. If you look up a little bit higher here, you can see my Muppets up here. So
he's pointing at
Fraggles are obviously servants of Nyarlathotep, you know.
And so yeah, like the new Jason Segel movie, like A, the Muppets are hilarious, but B, the music in it was just wonderful. And then I also love like Dr. Horrible. Dr. Horrible is hilarious. So when I first set out to write this, like Nathan said, I wanted to do a web series, and I wanted to do a Dr. Horrible-esque horror web series. And so naturally I had to bring Lovecraft into it. And the more he and I talked about it, we said, if we're going to take this around to film festivals and try to garner actual attention, we should probably make a proper film out of it rather than trying to stretch it out for X number of episodes.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to do. You know, I had done a web series, a Lovecraftian web series. Back in 2012, we shot a web series called Shadowbound that did pretty well internationally. It was actually set in 1931 in Springfield. We shot it here. And it's a silent horror Lovecraftian thing. And I wrote that and wound up starring in it too. But we put that thing together, and taking it around to festivals, I learned a hell of a lot that I didn't know about you know, the ins and outs of the festival circuit, especially when it comes to web series, because with web series, there's all sorts of weird stipulations, like the length of time that an episode can be compared to other other shows, and how some festivals wouldn't even take us because we were over the 10-minute mark, things like that. And so I was talking to him about that, and like, you know, having such a niche piece, being a Lovecraftian horror comedy musical, you know, I said, maybe we should, you know, we're going to be putting so much work into this thing. Why don't we look at it and make it into a movie? And so he retooled the script, and that's what we're polishing off right now too, just to get the pacing exactly how we want it. And I think it's going to really just pop as a film compared to what it would have been if it was a web series.
The music far has been really amazing. We've made sure that the lyrics are never like, you know, here's a thing we're going to do. Now we're going to sing about the thing that we just did, and then we move on to the next thing. It's always, the music is always driving the story
from the characters
forward.
Yeah,
they're character driven. They're what the characters are feeling, and it really gives you insight into what's happening. And just the music itself, right. The music production has gone really well. It's super catchy.
I am floored by the music, because I hadn't heard it when I agreed to do this. I hadn't even heard any of the music. I just loved the script so much. It's so funny. I was busting up laughing just reading it. So that's good. And I could see it. Like I could see the entire movie in my head, which that's the sign of any good screenplay. And I was like, man, this is great. And so I signed on, and then I started getting the music just a few weeks ago. I'm humming them. My son was humming them. Like everybody, we had one meeting where he played just a little bit of one of the songs in the show that's pretty prominently displayed throughout the movie. And the other producer and myself couldn't stop humming it during our meeting. And he was just like, are you humming that song? And like, we only heard it for like maybe 5 seconds. Like, I don't even know how many seconds.
It was like the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, the first 20
then
seconds
she was immediately humming it.
Right. And I've been humming it since. It's crazy. I'm singing that in the shower now. So this, it's a Lovecraftian earworm.
They're finally together. I mean, because horror musicals. I mean, there's Repo, the genetic opera. Cannibal,
right.
And I guess the Buffy the Vampire Slayer once more with Feeling, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory seem to be about the only real horror,
right.
sort of musicals.
Especially that tunnel sequence. My God,
right?
If we can make our movie,
are you sort of I mean, because some of you have theater backgrounds as well. Are you sort of drawing from that kind of, musical theater, sort of more stagey, or are you looking more at kind of the, classic Gene Kelly Hollywood musical style, cinematic musicals?
I think that we want to pay tribute to the old movie musicals of yesterday. We have a couple of sequences where we kind of introduce the audience to the idea that it is a musical, but it is a musical about a small town. It is a musical about a small town with a close-knit community that all knows each other. So these big, lavish things, we don't have too many of those. But yes, being from a theater background, and actually I've directed I direct a lot of horror stuff for the stage. So I've done like Evil Dead the musical. I adapted Night of the Living Dead into not a musical, but a stage play, a horror comedy version of Night of the Living Dead. And I've directed Rocky Horror twice. I love horror. I love horror on stage, and I love musicals. And so this some of the main actors that we've actually cast were either recently graduated or are current students of Missouri State University's BFA musical theater program, and which is a fantastic program. And these, I mean, my God, they're so talented. They're so talented. They just, we were floored at that. So
it was really hard to keep a straight face during that.
We wanted to jump up and be like, "You're hired. We got you. Yes, be a part of this, please." But yeah, so we are going to come from that kind of point of view. When I being a low budget movie, because movie making is very different than theater in many ways, especially in regards to time and money, but with this project and these smaller projects, like with my web series that we did, I like to run my sets like a theater company. We're all in it together. We're all here because we have a great passion for what we're doing. And by getting everybody on the same page in that way, when the process is good, the product is always going to be good. And so we're going to be really focusing on that. A lot of rehearsals, not just for the musical sequences, but for the acting, the deep acting scenes as well. And comedy being all about the timing, we really need to get that down in order to, shoot this thing correctly. So it's going to have a very fast paced. We're thinking it's, similar in style and to the Cornetto trilogy movies.
Okay.
Yeah, in its pacing, it's very similar to what Edgar Wright does with his editing and things like that. The script moves, it just flies just like that. So it's not this long, drawn-out classic musical where it's fully singing off and then they're sauntering to their next piece. It's pretty, it clips along really quick. It's a very, very witty comedy.
So no 15-minute ballet sequences is what I'm hearing.
No.
I tried.
If we get to the next tier on Kickstarter, maybe.
All right, well, let's talk about that. You're talking about the funding of the film, and you guys are going to Kickstarter and crowdfunding. And with films, you sort of want to know how much money do we have and how much do we play with. And crowdfunding, it's super variable because it can be like just over the threshold, or you tack on all the stretch goals and things like that. How are you guys prepared for the stretch goal trap?
So we are basically setting a minimal amount for us to say, hey, if we get this much, we can make the film. And it's not really that much. As far as when we get into stretch goals, that's where we get into quality upgrades. So when we, hey, at this level, we're going to move it from a 1080p film to a 4K film, things like that. So at those quality marks, the quality of the film is really going to go up because we can do bigger special effects sequences. We can
Better
do
lenses, better lighting equipment, things like that that can just help. Better locations even. We're lucky to be shooting in this part of the country where and in this city where a lot of people just want to be a part of something like this. And so it's not as expensive as if we were shooting, like back in Chicago or, Los Angeles or Atlanta or something like that. But so we're very lucky, and the locale is perfect. I mean, he was writing it, I think, with this area in mind, but it's definitely going to fit right in here. As far as the money goes, I'm not as much of a, I don't do a lot of the crowdfunding things, so I don't know how that works.
So I've run one successful Kickstarter before, and you've won a successful, as a GoFundMe? Was that what?
We did I think it was a GoFundMe.
He doesn't even remember.
It was so stressful because I was doing it. I had some people working on it for me, and they backed out partway through, so I had to go back through and and figure out where they were with sending everybody their stuff, and got it eventually taken care of.
Yeah.
It's stressful to keep up with it, but we've got a really dedicated team just on our crowdfunding stuff, and that's
amazing. Okay, good.
Yes, yeah. We are going to be focusing primarily on the production end of this, and we've got a team of little Lovecraftian monkeys working for us.
They prefer to be called Zoogs. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That makes sense.
Little Migos. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask about, how good a state Missouri is for filming, and, how, friendly people are, or if you're going to have to be like, running to film in a barn and then get out of there before the sheriff is called on you.
I hope we don't have to do that. So they just passed some legislation. So there's some tax cuts that are now available as of August.
I don't know if they're going to be available in August. We hear that that's the case. That it's going to be coming down the pipeline eventually. We had lost all of our tax incentives in Missouri right after the film Winter's Bone was shot here.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually worked on that movie. I was the special effects prosthetic designer for that film. It's shot near Branson, which is basically a suburb of Springfield. It's very close. When they were shooting that, the movie did very well. Obviously, it won the big award at Sundance, and then was nominated for like 3 Academy Awards. Immediately after that, the governor of Missouri at the time shut down the film commission, and it was like, this is the wrong time to be doing this, because this area, especially the Ozarks, is such a vastly different. It's just got so many different locales here. You've got these like mountainous looking regions. There's like it looks like a jungle. I shot a movie that a while back that was took place in Cambodia, and all they put in mountains in the distance, but it looked like a Cambodian jungle. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. They didn't even change anything. Like, they just shot in the woods around here. They're so overgrown. I mean, the Ozarks is gorgeous, but you've got that. You've got fields. You've got caves. You've got like desert looking areas. I mean, just so many great places. And the people here are, especially here in Springfield, it's a nice mix. It's a college city. So Springfield's the 3rd largest city in Missouri. It's called the Queen City of the Ozarks. And we've got a lot of really great open-minded people here. But it does vary. Sometimes you go in and you're like, you get the okay to shoot somewhere. You go in and you talk to them and you have them sign their paperwork, and they're like, now wait, is this a horror movie you're shooting? And then you have to
how much Satan is in this film?
Right.
Only a little.
Yeah. A skosh of Satan. A pinch.
And because of our relative location to Branson is this big live show area. So actually this area is pretty open for a lot of, like, the theater community here is really great. So they're open to music, they're open to acting. So when it comes
is Yakov Smirnoff a stretch goal?
That would God.
We didn't even think about that.
You're gonna get credit for that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I watch it, I'll be like, hey, that zombie who says, in Dreamlands, Migo eats you. That was me. I did that.
That was pretty good. That was really good. Yeah. I think Yakov is still around here. I don't think he's here, but he's still around here. Isn't that crazy? Branson is like where performers go to die. I don't. It's so weird.
It's Baptist Las Vegas, right?
He's gonna spray all of them.
It's Assemblies of God.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Right, the Assemblies of God headquarters is here in Missouri. Yeah.
In Springfield.
Yeah, it's in Springfield. Yeah. Oh, that I said Missouri. Yeah, it's in Springfield.
Well, if there's one thing the Assembly of God loves, it's shameless promotion. So we're going to pause for a quick commercial. Of course, as folks have been following along, know we were gifted these wonderful pins by the wonderful people at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival and Arkham Bazaar, and we have one final pin to give away. So if you are interested in getting this free pin, all you have to do is live in the continental US or Canada. We're finally opening it up to my Canadian brethren who have been complaining at me, and send an email to asklovecraft@gmail.com before this Friday night with the subject line Eldritch USA, and tell me which Lovecraft story you feel would make the best musical. That's it. That's all you have to do. Send that along with your address, and I will pick a winner by the end of Friday night, and you will get this wonderful pen. And once again, thank you so much to the Callahans and the wonderful people at both H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, CthulhuCon, and Arkham Bazaar. You guys, now some of you worked on The Terrible Old Man, actually adapting Lovecraft for cinema.
Yes.
What was that like? Because again, there's a problem with Lovecraft in that his stuff is essentially unfilmable.
What was nice about The Terrible Old Man is that there really was, aside from The Terrible Old Man himself, there wasn't anything huge and ambient that I really had to show. And I went ahead and modernized it. And I know for a lot of Lovecraftian purists, they don't like that. But I like the idea of taking an old story and showing how people nowadays would react to it. So yeah, I mean, aside from trying to show something otherworldly about the Terrible Old Man, it wasn't that bad. And really, the hard part was taking a 7-page Lovecraft story and trying to turn it into a 20-minute.
that is another issue. You know, it's feast or famine with Lovecraft. You're either getting, like the 2-page story that ends with "it was a man," or you've got the long, drawn-out 18 adjective, thing to go on.
That's it. Like, he fills his pages quite well, and that's hard to do visually. What he's doing is filling his pages with wonderful, colorful dialogue or narration of seeing something that can't be described. So yeah, that is the biggest thing. That's why I'm a Lovecraft fanatic, and most of the projects I work on that I write myself have some Lovecraftian theme to them, but I cannot for the life of me fathom trying to just do an actual Lovecraft adaptation. I think it's so difficult unless you do something really weird and stylish, like the guys at the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society who did this really great the stop motion Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, that 1920 silent film. I love that.
That was really good.
You have to do something that's really stylish like that, I think, almost to pull it off. I don't think I've seen anything that's proved me wrong on that yet.
This is probably a bad time for me to mention that I've always wanted to do Rats in the Walls, and I was hoping that Nathan would help me with that, but now I don't know if he would be willing to do that.
Well, we can talk about it. We can talk about it.
Well, again, 80% of Rats in the Walls is just strange sounds slightly off screen, right? It's just the final basement shot that you have to really worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dream sequences, I wanted to do like stop motion claymation things for all the little sheep-like things. And I've got a whole picture in my mind.
Well, see, but that's stylized too. That's, if it's in if you're doing stop motion, that's very stylized nowadays because nobody does that anymore. Really. I mean.
That's what I make so.
Do you find that you're in conversation with the rest of kind of the Lovecraftian film world or horror world, or are you sort of trying to kind of, keep all of that out and focus on your singular creative vision?
This is so unique. I don't know how well, I mean, it's because it's not like a Lovecraftian adaptation. I mean, it's Lovecraftian in the pure sense of we're drawing from his themes. We're including some artifacts and some references, but
it's really his own story, that we're going with on this. So yeah, for this one, we're not really, connected to the outer community and like letting everybody know yet. This is actually one of the first interview that we've done for this project. So hey,
it's because we like you.
Yeah.
Yay! Exclusive Ask Lovecraft content.
And we're so glad that you wanted us on here too, because we do want to get the word out. But I think if we were doing an actual adaptation of Lovecraft's work, we would probably be even more involved with that community, reaching out to the Lovecraft Historical Society and message boards and things like that, and talking to other people and seeing how other people's input on it and what other people have done. I mean, I think we both. I'm sure you are the same way, but I'm anything that comes out on TV or movies that has the word Lovecraftian in it, I'm there. I see everything. I've seen so many bad things and so many, even the bad things I love. in many ways, because they have, you know, probably Jeffrey Combs in it, and I love Jeffrey Combs. So.
Jeffrey Combs is always a draw. It's very true. Well, I mean, I joke about it, but I'm a guy who literally dresses up as H.P. Lovecraft three times a week. You know,
I would if I was thinner.
But Lovecraft and Cthulhu have in a lot of ways become this very commoditized, you know, I joke it's sort of the McDonald arches of the horror world. I mean, you guys are going to Kickstarter, and if you go to Kickstarter right now and just type in Lovecraft or Cthulhu, it's going to be page after page after page, which is great because, hey, brand awareness, but also there's the challenge because everyone's like, oh, here we go, another sort of Lovecraft cash in.
Right. But, you know, the people that actually have that viewpoint, I think, are the people who are not Lovecraft fans. You know, those are the people that see it, know what it is, but don't necessarily get into it. And the Lovecraftian aspect, you take out the comedy and the musical and all that, just the Lovecraft fans alone, there's enough of them throughout the world that they have power, you know, they have power. They are the, you know, they can move projects forward or cut them down, you know, and they give of their time and of their energy and of their money to things like this. I know I do. I back so many Lovecraftian Kickstarter things. It's crazy. And I know your wife gets onto you for doing the same thing.
If I could just take all the money that I put into Kickstarter and apply it to this film, we would.
Right. So tied up in other people's Kickstarters. So I think there's a built-in, I mean, horror in general, but Lovecraftian people too. We want that content. We want quality content by people who are just as passionate as we are to get their art out there. And we want to be a part of it. I mean, even if it's just, your name's not even associated, but you just want to give something to it and say, you know what, I helped them get there. That's important. That's important to me. I know it's important to a lot of other people. So I think true Lovecraft fans and fans of horror, like comedy horror too, I think they're going to come to work to help support this project if we can make them aware of it. That's the thing. I mean, you're right. With Lovecraftian things. So we have to do anything in our to set us apart, to show people that we're not just part of the general mill of Lovecraftian things out there, that we're very different. I mean, it is horror, Lovecraftian horror musical comedy is very different. So you'll be expecting to see a lot of music, sound bites, things like that dropping very soon and all over Kickstarter to show people.
Yeah, I mean, that promotion aspect is key. I mean, not just in any film, but with Kickstarter, there is this sort of expectation, you know, folks sort of are lined up and waiting to see, you know, what's the bigger, better deal. And it's exciting to hear that you've got an actual team behind it, because as someone who's, you know, done theater through GoFundMe, that becomes a full-time job.
Yes, it does.
It really, really does. And it's so stressful.
Yeah.
If you're doing a movie, you really need to be focusing on the movie, and so you almost have to. I think because you have to pay attention to it to have it be successful. It can, if you're relying on those funds and you just only initially get up there, you have to be updating that multiple times a day, checking it, talking to people who are backing you. I mean, really making people know that they're a part of what you're doing. So yeah, we are very lucky to have a team on it. I wouldn't have wanted to go this route otherwise, you know, to fund. I would have thought, you know, anything else. Prostitution even. I don't know.
I'm about to say, I feel like seducing dowagers used to be the like traditional route of filming, you know, passion projects like this.
Yeah, all those days of yore.
Yeah, my wife would get upset about that.
Yeah.
Well, this is really exciting, guys. I'm really excited to see how this project progresses, because I mean, the work you guys have done before, you know, what you guys have shared on your various websites and what you guys have shown me has been really top quality. And I love the fact that you guys come from such different sort of worlds, you know, the theater and film, you know, music and special effects. That's you know, shows that you guys know the kind of the messiness that goes into this sort of thing. I think, you know, nerd culture has a lot of passion and a lot of excitement, but also a lot of talk. And I think it's important to find folks who get the sort of, you know, hands-on nature of making art and the fact that it's work.
A lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Right. And I think, you know, you're right. That happens a lot, especially in filmmaking. People, anybody with a camera these days are like, hey, I want to make a movie. And they get into it. You know, they'll even take the time to get a script together. The script might be wonderful. They'll shoot it. And then the real hard work comes in the post-production.
Yes.
And then movies just die. I can't tell you how many projects I've been on, other people's projects, that will never see the light of day. And I've given sometimes over a year of my life to these projects, and they just don't ever get off the ground because people don't realize just how much work from so many it's collaborative. I mean, I think filmmaking is even more collaborative than theater, and theater was the very first, I think, collaborative art form with multi different, areas of art. But filmmaking is even more so. And I mean, it just can't be. I mean, if it was just the two of us, we would die. We would die horribly. We'd be dead. We'd probably be dead by now. Yeah. But going into this, pulling together the team behind the camera and in front of the camera, and people that are just wanting to join us with the Kickstarter and things like that. It's all part of a giant family of passionate people who want the content to get out there, and those of us that want to do the work. I mean, this is what we do. This is what I do with my life, and this is what he does with his life, and this is what we want to do. And so that's enough to fuel us, and we can die later after the movie's done. We'll die then. But
fantastic. At least you have your priorities straight.
Right.
So tell me, the Kickstarter for this is launching at the end of the month. Is that correct?
We're shooting for the end of the month. Yes. Yeah.
Until then, I know it.
Yeah.
It's like the giant sort of wall of flame that's beginning to collapse.
You can see it in the distance, and you're like, no.
Yeah, we're just gathering resources because when we launch it, we want to be able to have enough information in there that people can just at a glance say, oh, this is what I'm getting into. Because I've seen so many Kickstarters where the premise sounds great, but you don't really see what you're getting, and I think that's part of what makes them unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
So you're saying you don't want to be the egg salad sandwich of the Lovecraftian comedy film.
Right. I will say your name out loud while I make the egg salad.
So until the Kickstarter launches, where is the best place people can go to follow, to sort of, kind of bookmark and get ready?
Well, our website just got launched.
Yeah, we've got two different spots. So the website is just simply www.eldritchusa.com. So pretty simple. And then the Facebook one is just facebook.com/EldritchUSA. So both of those, we probably update Facebook at least twice a week with interviews and
yeah. There's I think 3 interviews up now.
We've got 4 interviews up now. There's a 5th one that's going to be put up this Saturday, my interview, and we actually just did a meet the producers interview with all 3 of us together talking, and hopefully that's going to be out here in the next couple weeks. So
yeah, and so also launching just different images and conceptual designs. He's been getting these amazing conceptual designs for various aspects from the movie, character concepts, some of the artifacts that are used in the movie, props, things like that. We're going to be doling those out to people to see and just get people excited as we get even more into pre-production. So yeah.
Well, that's really exciting. Thank you guys so much. What else is coming down the pike? I know this is going to be taking up your lives for the next forever. But what more do y'all have for folks who are interested in either learning more about your work or where they can find things about you?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Well, so this project is a pretty big commitment for me. So I obviously I was pretty serious about the Rats in the Walls. I've been working on an adaptation for that. So
I didn't even know
I'm gonna rope him in on that if I can. So as long as we don't want to kill each other by the end of this project, hopefully we'll be working on that. And I think the only other thing, I've got a grandchild due in January, so that's the other big thing going on for me. So
crazy because I think we're the same age, right?
Yeah,
you're 30.
I'm 39.
Oh no, you're a couple years older than me. But yeah, still though, that's crazy that you have a grandkid on the way. Big news though. I'm getting ready. Actually, here in 3 weeks, I'm moving back to Chicago with my family, and when I lived there before, I was constantly in Missouri working on films, and I'm going to be back and forth. Obviously, I'll be here in the fall to shoot this project, but so we're getting ready to move, and we're gearing up for that right now. And I've got a couple of other projects in the works. My company, Arcane. We do a lot of stuff in theater, and we produce the web series Shadowbound, which you can still find on YouTube. It's out there. A huge drop-off point past that first episode, though, because it's so niche. I mean, black and white, silent. I don't know why I keep signing on to these projects. But you get all the Lovecraft people that go all the way to the end, and they love it. But everybody else is like that first episode has so many views, and then it's just after that. Sometimes people go through the second one. It's a 5-episode miniseries. But so we got that out there, and we're actually developing a horror radio podcast that is a fully produced radio theater podcast that we've been recording every weekend on. And we're going to be launching that at the end of the month. It's called the Frightmare Theater Podcast. And so I'm super stoked about that. And we'll be getting more information about that coming out soon. But all original concepts, all original stories. Every month is going to be a brand new, original, fully produced radio horror theater show. Some of them, of course, a couple of mine are Lovecraftian that I wrote, but I've got a great team of writers. Some of my favorite people I work with in the theater world and in the film world here locally are part of that. And we have a great writing team that we've been just loving every second of getting that together. I've never done anything like that before. So that's why I wanted to do it, to tackle it, because I love listening to those old radio podcasts where they actually have like old radio shows. I'm kind of obsessed with old radio shows like The Terror and things like that. So yeah, that's what we're working on right now. And I'll be putting that on the back burner here for the fall going into this production. Yeah. But yeah, we are lots of things going on, lots of Lovecraftian things.
If I can pump one thing, so the person who helped me write the music, who kind of helped me write the melodies and the lyrics,
such good music.
His name's Nathan Hurley. He's part of a band called Guys on a Bus. So if anybody wants to go check out Guys on a Bus, that kind of lets you know kind of the quality of the music that we're getting into this. So not the same style because we're doing show tune and Midwestern themes, but the quality of the music, that should give them an idea.
Fantastic. And if folks just want to follow you online, do you guys have sort of standard launching sites they can go to?
Mm-hmm. You can always find out information about me, what I'm doing. I'm a professional actor. My website's nathanshelton.com. So very, very easy. And then we are getting ready to launch the Frightmare Theater Podcast.com as well, which you'll find out information about Arcane and other things that we're working on.
I have a Passive Aggressive Films page on Facebook. I haven't populated it very much because I've been focused more on the film, but eventually I'll take all the stuff from The Terrible Old Man, all the stuff from this and future projects and put it all on there. So, but it does exist.
Fantastic. Existing is all we can hope for sometimes.
Sometimes it has to be enough.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Nathan, if you do ever make your version of Thriller and you need a Vincent Price, I can draw on a mustache. So there we go.
You're my guy. You're my guy.
This has been thank you guys. This has been Ask Lovecraft After Dark. I'm Lehman Kessler. If you're interested in more of Ask Lovecraft After Dark, or its main show, Ask Lovecraft, where I dress up as H.P. Lovecraft 3 times a week and dispense questionable advice, you can go to asklovecraft.com. If you'd like to be part of the live conversation, like our friends Thomas and Greg, who have been providing some nice color commentary, you can go to Facebook and join the Ask Lovecraft Appreciation Society. You can follow me at Lehman Kessler, where I often am found screaming into the void. You can find out about live shows that I do, and where I either dress up as H.P. Lovecraft or Carl Sagan, or for some reason I was recently dressing up as Peter Sellers. But that all can be found. That was hard. You people think Lovecraft is hard. Peter Sellers is just a void, and trying to imitate him is a challenge. Let me tell you.
I can't even imagine that. Jeez.
It was rough. I'm not gonna lie.
He had like all of his personality was through his characters.
Oh yeah, and his real personality was just like racist and loving astrology and drugs. So hey, that was a good time. Otherwise, folks, if you're interested in supporting this program, keeping us on the air, you can go to patreon.com/asklovecraft. We just put out a very fun fundraising video, which was a grand collaboration of all the cast members of Ask Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, P.H. Lovecraft, Carl Sagan, and even yours truly, Lehman Kessler, made an appearance. But thank you all for watching. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. I'm really excited to see how the Kickstarter goes and how the film goes off, because this is a truly ambitious project, and I hope you're all talking to each other when it's said and done.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for having us. This has been
appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. This has been an absolute blast. Once again, this is Ask Lovecraft After Dark. Y'all stay classy.